Peace, peace, peace. What's good, everybody? Hope everybody's doing well. I'm doing well. Gonna touch on a subject that I've been basically, not really a subject, but just all in the mix of what I've been on for a few years now. You know what I'm saying? I just recently reposted a post done by this sister. I forgot the name of her page because I follow her, but I ain't been following her that long. But I've been following her for a little while. But she be putting out some good content on basically getting people off the slave narration that was given to us, American people. We've been given a slave narrative about the melanated group of people that's from here in America. So she puts out a lot of content based on that. And she just recently put out the day. Well, I just saw the post that she put out, and it basically was saying that like in the circus, they had circus performers. Basically, different circuses had like Indian groups, all these different groups from whatever in the circus. But they also had a Black America group doing a show in the circus that was based on life of slaves in the South. And basically on her post, she explained how, and she had an article saying how the performance was renowned for being very accurate, based on what life was like for a slave, a so-called slave, a Black American in the South, back in so-called slavery days, right? Now, the reason why this activated me, in a lot of ways, because I'm in the middle of reading a book that a brother that I follow. His name is Asir the Duke of Tears. In one of his talks, this is one of his older talks too, he advised to buy a particular book, and this is the book here. And this book is basically a book. Well, the book is called The Princess and the Prophet, and the author's name is Jacob S. Dorman. It's called The Princess and the Prophet, and it's basically a book giving a rundown of Islam, the appearance of Islam, over here in America, and how it was, basically where it came from, who was putting it out, the groups that supported this perception, of Islam coming over here. And then inside, I'm only about 70 pages into the book. I haven't completed the book yet, but just in the first 3 chapters, I'm actually on the third. I think I'm on the third chapter now. Well, no, I'm on the 4th. I'm on chapter 4. But throughout these 4 chapters, it's breaking down how multiple Freemasonic groups were using an Islamic theme. Like they have an Islamic theme for these groups, like they wear fezzes and turbans. They name their groups after certain so-called Islamic places, or like cities and different things. Or like all of it. Basically, they have all of these groups had Islamic themes, and they were not just groups of so-called white people. These were Masonic and Freemasonic groups by also melanated people also. And it breaks down the history on how the people, people basically came to this Islamic. It's not completely. Well, I don't believe it to be completely accurate, but it gives the guy who did this book, Jacob Dorman, did some good work, and he dug up some good history on on this particular subject. But another reason why that it resonates with me, because I put out a lot of content over the last year or so, dealing with the so-called mud flood theory and the Tartarian civilization being spread across the world, and before the last reset. And all of this stuff, the mud flood theory, the Tartarian thing, it all ties into what this book brings some light to, because the resets played a big part in the New World Order being put on the people, and having the ability to basically implement a new mindset into the people, to basically program the people to believe in this New World Order as being truth, and all of that. So this is a book that I think one should get if they want to just increase themselves in some knowledge and some history on that particular issue, meaning with Islam coming into this country. But it's not just that, because if you follow the mud flood Tartarian type thing, genre of information, then you know that what kicks in, you know about how all of these different world fairs went on in most of the major cities in the United States. You had a World Fair in Philadelphia, you had World Fairs in Chicago, Buffalo, San Francisco. You had a lot of World's Fairs that went on in the United States, and the theory in that particular group of, that genre of information, with the mud flood and Tartarian thing, that these world fairs weren't fairs. They weren't something like circuses or something for the people to go into. They were repopulation events that they used to repopulate these major cities that were basically empty after whatever whatever earthquake, mud flood, water flood that went on, that supposedly decimated the world and flooded the world and buried the world. So once these cities got dug back out, they were repopulated, through these World's Fairs, and if you look at a lot of the pictures of these World Fairs, you see these amazing old world buildings. You see basically a lot of people that don't look like they belong to the world that created these buildings. You have different exhibits. You have technology exhibits. You have, and specifically, you have exhibits, because I make this comparison of the World Fairs to these circuses. The circus that from the Sisters Post, and also this ties into what this book is lining out. But the book is lining out how these World Fairs, these Freemasonic groups, did these World Fairs, and they had all these different themes. You had people from this part of the world, that part of the world, and they had actors playing these people. And let's say everybody that was made, not necessarily made, or who was paid, or whatever, however they was done to play a certain part, were not necessarily the true people of that particular land that they were representing. So if you somebody who is interested and desires and having a deeper knowledge of true history, then you have to get into the mud flood Tartarian thing. Regardless if you agree with the terminology and if that's the name of places and all that kind of stuff. No, it's just that genre, in that world of information, a lot of work is being done by people to bring light to true history and what really went on and what purpose that these world fairs served. Now, in the video that the sister put out that I reposted, she spoke about how it ran down in the article about the perception, or the portrayal rather, of the life of slaves in the South being on unsupervised plantations, and that it was authentic. So you have to think, That's if you can use your brain. What kind of prisoners or slaves are put into a position or a situation where they are unsupervised? A lot of people don't even think about that. Like, these so-called slaves that were supposed to be in slavery and lived back at that time, there was no walls and no gates around to stop them from just leaving. But we don't ever even just think about things like that. Like, why they ain't just leave? People say, oh, well, they were scared to leave because they ain't want to get their foot cut off or whatever the case would be, all that kind of mess, right? But basically, you already know people is determined to be free. How would you act if you was being forced to work and all this different stuff? You know what I mean? You wouldn't care about that. You would die trying to get out that prison. Because I know I would. I don't even got to guess it. Right? I would die trying. And people who was in the situation, they did die trying, and some of them did get away. But guess what? What we perceive to be how slavery was is not accurate. It's just not accurate. The way business was being done at that time, people were under servitude. They were under contract, and that was in that day. You could be locked up for debt. That's why they had debt prisons. That's not just a European thing. You had debt prisons in the Americas where people could be arrested and basically locked up behind debt that they owed or contracts that they breached. You know what I'm saying? So people were under servitude, but it's just that Hollywood and the rewriting of history, they started. Can you hit that like button for me, y'all? If y'all in here and y'all watching, hit that like button for me. But you gotta understand, we went through a reconstruction time period, right? Okay, let's say in the United States, we look at Reconstruction went on post-Civil War, meaning like what was reconstructed after the Civil War, after post-1865. That's when our history was refurbished, recreated, reconstructed, and it was put out, into the population, truthfully, by way of through public education, because that's when a lot of the reconstructing the different laws that you had to follow, you had to send your children, that this is in the processes of creating laws to make the people have to, let's say, send your children to school. Because there was a time when you ain't had to send your kids to school. You didn't have to send your kids to school, but then they started putting stuff, legislating stuff, whereas though you had to send, you got to send your kids to school. So if you got to send your kids to school, so that means your kids is going to get this doctrine pressed into their head, into their minds from a very young age, 4, 5 years old. Let's say, kindergarten through 12, right? They're going to be indoctrinated with a false history. They're going to be indoctrinated with the programming of what has been reconstructed. History been rewritten. But, it's little speckles of truth inside of the falsehood, because when you think about the sharecropping thing, that's basically what it was. People was under contract to work lands, and however the money was, the money was got from crops and different stuff. They would have to pay the rent, pay whatever they had to pay. But they worked the land. To make a long story short, that's what sharecropping is. So if you really think about that and get into like learning what exactly sharecropping was at that time and how business was done, and then you gotta use your mind, and then maybe you investigate a little bit more, like what her post brought to light, being as though people was so-called slaves on the land being unsupervised. You start seeing and understanding that a lot of these people that you're seeing online saying that slavery didn't happen, or it didn't happen the way you think it happened, you start being like, well, damn, you know what? People wasn't slaves, like what they say in Hollywood. And then you start seeing how the programming is done, is put on the people. This is why they keep making movies. They keep pushing this stuff in the people's face to keep that slave stuff in the mind. And a lot of people don't care, but a lot of people do care. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people is learning to care. Just from little speckles of information like what I'm putting out. Just look, check this out. Get this book. It's something to know about because this is American history right here. This book is called The Princess and the Prophet. You know what I'm saying? And you should care about this stuff. You should care about your, what you should just care. You know, if you're American and you live here, or if you live somewhere else and you just want to know what really went down in America in truth, then you should get into what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? And you shouldn't be believing the falsehood of Hollywood and television because it's not true. It's not true. Because if you dig into your history, you'll find that most people that here, melanated people here, if you go back, you'll find, just like I found, that all this information on all my people. I done got back to the 1500s from just paperwork. You know what I'm saying? And people can say what they want to say. I didn't find no slaves, or I haven't found any slaves, and I haven't found any Africans. And I'm not saying nothing against Africans, because we all are related, but we ain't related through no daggone slavery. We all related. All the original people are related, by way of, us just being original to the earth. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have no problem with that, but I got a problem with you labeling me something that I'm not. Because even if I was from the continent of Africa and I'm Kenyan, I don't want you calling me a Ghanaian. Why would I want that? Plus, you know what I mean? Like, it just don't make no sense. So I'm 100% American. So why would I want to be labeled something that I'm not? But that's just something for people to get into, that people need to get into. Just so they can know. If you don't want to do it, just because you don't think, maybe you think that you can't change your life, but you may be able to change the children in your life. You have young children, let's say, that may not, that don't have to grow up believing that they came up or they descend from slaves. Because it's if you lost a war and you was and all that, and because that's what really happened. People, you had conflicts. We were the victims of conflict, basically prisoners of war, and we still are the prisoners of war. People don't want to, a lot of people don't want to get into that, but that's the truth. But I would have preferred knowing and learning in school as a child that my grandfather and my grandmother was prisoners of war as opposed to them being slaves. It's a big difference in the mentality. Like, because constantly they were teaching us that we were overtaken and stolen and beat and put in chains and all this kind of stuff. That stuff that's not good for your psyche. That's not good. That's just not good for nobody. And on top of it all, it ain't true. You know what I'm saying? The only thing I found in my family history is farmers, porters. I even got, but guess what? I got postmaster, I got a doctor, and this is they in South Carolina, in the middle of the South Carolina. I even got grandparents and uncles that fought in the Civil War, and guess what? They fought on the side of the South. And these are melanated people. You see what I'm saying? So, like, if you take time to learn your history and to know who you are and not be emotional about it, you might learn the truth is stranger than fiction. You know what I'm saying? That's why, like, they got us programmed against our own self. Programmed against our own self. And the truth be told, it's going to take a special kind of drive or a special kind of person to push through all of that, to accept and then reconcile all of this information, and then find where you lie in this whole story. You know what I mean? Because I know I'm original to this land, and it's not a boast. What you mean? I just am. You know why? It's very simple. Anybody I can't be sent nowhere. If I commit a crime and get jailed and then do my time, they can't deport me nowhere. They can't send me to Africa. You know what I'm saying? They can't. Anybody over here that can't be sent nowhere, can't be deported, then you from here. Anybody who got a colored grandmother, a colored a colored mother, I got a colored my parents was born in the 40s, so they was colored or Negro on their birth certificates. My grandparents was born in 1920 and 1923. So of course they either colored, Negro, and the people that's colored and Negro, before they was that, they was Indians, and before they was Indians, they were described as being Moors. So it's a lot of different, you know what I'm saying? So that's how you know who is who. It's very easy. If you can't be sent nowhere, then the land belongs to you. You can't send me nowhere. You can't send my mom or my dad or my grandma. You couldn't deport them nowhere. So that means we the ones that been here. But if you want to learn about that, then you have to do some digging. But truth be told, in this day and time, it's not as hard as it used to be. You can go You can go on here, you know, on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, and you can tap into a lot of lines of information to people. That stuff that's already laid out for you. Way more than what I'm talking about. Like, because, you know, I'm a amateur talker. You know what I'm saying? I'm an amateur at this. I'm not pro, but I definitely can point you in the direction of getting this book, digging in, and I'm telling you to get into. And it don't matter. Don't try to just look for like somebody like, yeah, I'm gonna look for somebody black on them talking about the mud flood and Tartarian thing. No, because there's many melanated people, so-called white people that done put out that got some good work on deck for you to bring together a lot of these issues. You know what I'm saying? And even if they do put a little twist on it for their own self or whatever, people do that. Even in the so-called melanated community, people do that. People try to twist the information to make them into a group of people from the Bible or whatever. I'm just saying, people do that. So you know what you got to do is create the truth of what you are out of the information that you find, and not create it, because you are who you are regardless. But you know, I've come to the conclusion about my own self that I'm a mixture. You know, actually, I'm a mixture of American people and Moors. But the original Americans, they're Moors too. They're all Moors. It's just a description. It's just like calling somebody black. It's just like somebody having Hawaiian ancestry, or ancestry from Fiji or Melanesia. People didn't call themselves black back in the day. So you're not going to, if you got a grandpa from Melanesia, they're not going to say, oh, my grandma from Melanesia and she dark skinned and she was black. They're not going to say that. Back then, they're going to put in the book that these people were Moors, were Moorish. You know what I mean? Like that's how you describe it, like a dark skinned people. You see what I'm saying? So it's not, and these people all set up in groups, nations, tribes, whatever you want to call it at this particular point in time. You know what I'm saying? And it's like people think that the Moorish thing is definitely associated with Islamic people, but that's not true. To say that it's just Islamic people are associated with being Moors, because the same way you have what people perceive to be Christianity, you have Christian Moors. You got like Hebrew and Israelite Moors. Okay, I prefer I prefer it because that's what I am. But what I'm saying is, I would prefer to call myself a Moor than to call myself black. Especially me knowing what I know, what it means legally. But it's the same thing, you know what I mean? Or calling myself Negro, or calling myself colored, because it's not an description to a nation. You know, it's not a nation. You know, and from what I know, there was a time when this place right here, where I was born, and I was born even though my family come from down south, come from Florida, South Carolina. I was born in Pennsylvania. But the truth be told, one of my grandparents, before they went to South Carolina, they came from Pennsylvania. They was in Lancaster, Pennsylvania before they went down to South Carolina back in 17, whatever it was. So my people was in Pennsylvania before they even went to South Carolina, right? I got a line, you know what I'm saying? But at one time, this place here was Morocco. Philadelphia was called Marrakesh. Okay, so like it just, and even every place that you think, the names have been changed. So imagine that if they reconstructed history and changed the names of places in the 1800s, what was the place? And they write, you read books, and they wrote stuff down, and you reading about India. But then come to find out, in the old world, what we call the United States was referred to as India Superior. So then people say, well, what would be the purpose? What would be the purpose of changing the name? Well, the purpose of changing the name is to confuse the people. Because if you writing if there's a book written about somebody who was in India, a king of India, a queen of India, 1,000 years ago, 800 years ago, then they talking about this place here. Because the place they call India now, prior, in the 1800s, this place was called Hindustan. It wasn't Indian, it was Hindustan. Okay? So, the confusion that they want to be on the people is the reason why. They got everybody looking over here, and there's nothing wrong with over there, but you shouldn't be looking over there, you should be looking here. And then be so confused. You got people confused. They running over there. I mean, it's no way. The world belongs to us, so you go anywhere you want to go. But you should go knowing who you are. You shouldn't be going somewhere else searching for yourself like that. Like I said, if you got a grandmom or my parents was born back, you know, I'm a little older. I'm just saying, but if you got a mom, a grandmom, a great grandmom that was colored or Negro, then y'all is Indians. Okay, but we know there's something wrong with that terminology because we know that's a legal thing too. You know what I mean? To refer to yourself as an Indian, it's not good. It really isn't. But we know the Indians are the original Aborigines of this land. And if you can't, it's basic. If you can't be, you go in a Chinese store, you go anywhere. You go in the wherever stores. And you know the stores is all in our communities. All of them people can get sent back somewhere. Even so-called white people. They can trace, if they say, yeah, you know, my grandmom, she come from, and my grandpop, they came over here from Italy or Ireland. I'm just saying. So it was a time when they mom or their grandmom or their great grandmom could get sent back somewhere. My people never could get sent back nowhere. They was always here. So I'm just saying, if you just want to say it in an easy way, something easy for you to understand it like that. And maybe you'll start understanding why the foot has always been on your neck. Now, I myself have elevated past a level of emotionalism with certain things. You know, I'm not emotionally all upset like that. Now, I'm in the process of just elevating, vibrating high. I know who I am. so I'm not affected the same way that I was before. You know what I mean? So I basically am on a journey of learning, a perpetual student, and that keeps me balanced. You know, it's a shame. Of course, it is a shame for people, me and my people, to have to go through some of the things that we go through, but we coming up out of that, and we coming up out of that through the information. So this is the purpose of me even dropping this little talk. You know what I mean? It ain't a little talk because it's big, but you know how we talk. But this is the purpose of it. So, you know, I advise myself, and I advise anybody who want to listen, learn about who you are. Know yourself. And one of the ways you know yourself, maybe buy this book. And even if you don't have to be a Muslim, or you don't even have to be a Freemason or Mason. This is American history, and it's relevant to an American, and even a so-called American, because that's two different things. Everybody in America, that's a citizen of the United States, but that's another story. But it's a true story. You know, Americans, according to the War Department, is people having ancestry on these lands 150 years prior to colonization. That's what makes you an American, to have ancestry 150 years prior to colonization. So I know I'm an American, and I do have national pride, and we can wordplay about the names. This ain't the talk for that, but I know. I know. You know, multiple names. We're dealing with a land that existed for hundreds, thousands, millions, hundreds of thousands of years. So this place has had many names. You know what I'm saying? But the people that's living now, we need to get ourselves together. We need to learn. It's a time for learn. This ain't time for getting bent out of shape. Really, this is the time to chill and to learn and to get away from doing negative things to ourselves and to other people. And that's going to cause us to vibe higher. And you're going to start seeing that the things that you need, information-wise, even by way of your sustenance and how you maintain from day to day, things will start getting better when you start raising your vibe. You know what I'm saying? And knowing yourself is one of the ways of raising your vibe. So get into it. Start following these Mudflood people and these Tartarian people, these people that's putting out this Tartarian information. It's a real good channel. He's not the first channel that I follow, but I started with I mentioned this before. The first channel that I followed with this Mudflood theory, but it's not a theory, it's a fact, was a channel called Flat Earth. It was called Flat Earth British. And this guy had a real good channel. It was him and another guy used to do a lot of talks. And I haven't seen him on my line on YouTube in a long time. It's some years, but he did some good work. And I was amazed by his content. And but the one thing I ain't gonna lie, the man had a very thick British accent, so it was kind of hard to understand him at times. But I understood what he was saying. I would run it back. I wouldn't understand what he was talking about. But it's a guy, John Levy. John Levy, JONLEVI, John Levy. Yeah, follow that guy's channel and really backtrack. Watch all his videos, and I guarantee you, after that, you're gonna be amazed at the content. You're gonna be amazed at the work that he has put in, and he uses other people's work. Everybody do that. You know what I mean? Everybody do that, but John Levy, that's a good channel to follow if you just really want to get into it. John Levy. It's another newer channel. It's a channel called Lunch Break, Lunch Break. You got another channel called Lucius Aurelius. Those are two newer channels, but they got some good, man. Look, I'm trying to tell you, but John Levy talks like a he kind of talk like an elementary or middle school teacher. So I'm just saying, if you really want to just fall back and chill and just listen, watch some content where the guy is pretty much breaking it down, showing you pictures, different things, you know what I mean, that's going to activate you, you know, towards knowing. Yeah, follow his page first, John Levy. And like I said, the brother who advised me, I'm gonna put this book up again, The Princess and the Prophet, is a very, very good Moorish brother. And he's one of the titans living now. You know what I mean? Putting out good content about history, Moorish science, and just basically getting and having yourself together as well, you know, along the lines of being a free man or a woman, whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm saying? And he's a Moor, but his name is Asir the Duke of Tears. You should follow him on YouTube. Yeah, on YouTube. I don't think he don't got a TikTok or Instagram. So you can follow John Levy, and you can follow Asir the Duke of Tears on YouTube. You can follow both of them on YouTube. And I don't know. That's basically that's all I wanted to touch on, because I was glad that sister put that video up, because it really it just cut right into something I'm into right now. And I said I might as well go on and say something about it. But I hope everybody enjoy the rest of the night, and start studying, study, dig. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody gonna walk. It ain't just gonna fall in your lap. You're gonna have to dig. You gotta be open to it. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully I see y'all again soon. Peace.